Good evening. My name is Amanda Nichols, and I'm here with Our Revolution to welcome everyone to our national Organize to Win call. Tonight, we're organizing for round 2 against the Dirty Deal, which would fast track fossil fuel projects and gut protections for frontline communities. In just a bit, we'll be joined by U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley to hear all about what this toxic deal entails and what we can do about it. We hope that you'll stick around to the end of our call when we'll be doing a brief training for our rapid response team so that we'll be ready to take action to ramp up pressure against this deal. We'll also hear from Our Revolution activist, Rand Wilson, for a recap of our Black Friday protests across the country to make Amazon pay for its environmental destruction, pay fair wages, and pay its taxes. If you're in Zoom, you can kick things off by telling us your name and where you're from in the chat. Also in the chat, you'll see the links to share this live stream out on your own Facebook and Twitter. Please post those out on your social media right now to help build this call. We need all hands on deck in this fight for the climate. All right, let's see who we have joining in Zoom right now. Looks like we've got Barry from Walbridge, Ohio, Edward from Oakland, California, Laura from Gilroy, California. We've got Elizabeth from Brattleboro, Vermont, Paulina in Vancouver, Natasha's here, Gary's here, Joanne from LA, Stephen Spitz from Falls Church, Virginia. Lots of folks tuning in. Good to see all of you. Thank you for being with us. And for those who are calling in via our Teletown Hall service, also those who are tuning in via our social media streams, we hope you'll take this time to transfer into the Zoom room with us. We're dropping that link in the comments under our social media streams right now. So click that link and join the action here in Zoom. If you're on the phones, just go online and type in ourrev.us/Zoom. Again, if you're just tuning in, my name is Amanda Nichols, and this is Our Revolution's live national Organize to Win call. Tonight, we're mobilizing for round 2 versus Manchin's Dirty Deal, a disastrous sweetheart deal for the fossil fuel industry that would reverse recent climate steps and endanger frontline communities. In just a few minutes, we'll be joined by Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon, who has been a leader in the fight against this dirty deal. And we'll also hear from Our Revolution Massachusetts activist and union organizer Rand Wilson about our Black Friday Global Day of Action to make Amazon pay. Stay tuned to the end of the call for a training for our rapid response team, so we'll be prepared to take action and use our grassroots pressure to stop the dirty deal for a second time. All right, the chat is very active. Keep telling us your name and where you're from. Looks like we've got Delicia in St. Paul, Minnesota, Kathy in Martinez, Karen from Wisconsin, Sandy from San Francisco, Ross from Durwood, Maryland. Who else? Oh, Alexander from Dubuque, Iowa, and Vince from South Florida, Stephanie from Mountain Lakes, New Jersey, Clark from Tegakay, South Carolina. We've got Hetty from Alameda, California, and Joseph from Kensington, Maryland. Thank you guys for being with us tonight. If you're not already a member of Our Revolution, now is a great time to sign up. Our grassroots members sustain our activism, our electoral work, and really help grow the power of our movement. So that link is going in the chat right now. That's ourrev.us/2022 member. We have more than 3,000 people listening in on the phones right now, and we'd love for each of you to switch over to our Zoom call where we can interact and take part in the organizing work behind this campaign to stop the dirty deal. Go to ourrev.us/Zoom. Let's read a few more names. We've got Lucero Mesa, who says it's nice to see you, Amanda. Thank you, Lucero. Nice to see you too. We have Ian from Ann Arbor, Michigan. We've got Paulina in Portland, Oregon, Annette from PA, Mike, he's tuning in all the way from Juneau, Alaska, Dave from Tongvaland, and Donald from Candler, North Carolina, Great to see such a variety of locations. Frank from New Hampshire, Stephen from Philadelphia. We've got folks from all over the country tuning in tonight with us. So thank you for being part of this call and calling in with us to organize. This is what makes it all work here at Our Revolution. Heather from Indiana, and Karen Hollis, Larry Holman, Sharon from Columbus, Indiana, Regina Adams from Cleveland, Ohio, and Lori from Naperville, Illinois. Hello to everyone. And with that, let me hand it over to our host for the evening, Our Revolution Campaigns and Communications Director, Paco Fabian. Paco, take it away.
Thank you, Amanda, and good evening to everybody out there. Welcome to our live National Organize to Win call. Thank you so much for tuning in to organize with us for round 2 against Manchin's Dirty Deal. My name is Paco Fabian. I'm the Communications and Campaigns Director here at Our Revolution, and I'm going to be hosting this call this evening. And right now, we've got hundreds of Our Revolution members are joining in the Zoom room. We've got thousands more that are tuning in online and on the Teletown Hall service. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for being with us here tonight. And if you're not already in Zoom, if you want a more interactive experience, you can come join us here. It's rrev.us/Zoom. For those folks watching on social media or listening on the phones, you can join us here. Tonight, we'll be talking with Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon about what the dirty deal entails and what we can do collectively to stop it, hopefully once and for all. And in just a moment, we'll hear from Our Revolution Massachusetts activist and union organizer Rand Wilson about our Black Friday Global Day of Action to make Amazon pay that happened this past Friday. But before we dig in, a quick reminder that while the midterms may be over, we still have more work to do in Georgia. In November, not only did we flip a Senate seat with John Fetterman in Pennsylvania, but we elected 9 new Our Revolution endorsed members to Congress to take on the corporatist wing of the party. And that's thanks to all of you guys, whether you dialed your phones, whether you donated a couple of bucks here to keep the operation going, everything counts. And so thankful for all of you for helping us make that happen. We also saw some crucial progressive wins at the state and local levels. In Minnesota, AG and Our Revolution board member Keith Ellison won his re-election. And in St. Louis, Megan Green won her race for president of the Board of Aldermen, making that Board of Aldermen in St. Louis majority progressive, which is awesome to see in a Midwest city. And now we're turning our voter turnout operation to Georgia, where we must re-elect Senator Raphael Warnock to get the 51st vote in the Senate, defeat Herschel Walker once and for all, and take power away from Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema that have been using it to block progress on our agenda. Our Revolution Phone Bank Force made 4 million calls and texts to voters in the midterms, and we're keeping that energy going for Georgia in the runoff election. So we hope you'll volunteer with us to re-elect Senator Raphael Warnock. You can sign up at the link that's getting dropped in the chat right now to make calls to more than 150,000 Our Revolution members in Georgia ahead of Election Day on December 6th. And if you're not able to volunteer your time or thumbs to make phone calls or texts, you can help support our GOTV operation with a donation to our Georgia Runoff Fund. That link is getting dropped in the chat as well. And so want to bring on now our first guest. Our Revolution was proud to lead U.S. actions across the country as part of a global day of action to make Amazon pay. And we're keeping that logo, that line means Amazon needs to pay fair wages to their workers. They need to pay taxes, not just in the US, but everywhere they operate, and pay for the damage that they're causing to the environment. More than 80 unions and organizations took part in strikes and protests across 32 countries, from Germany to Italy and Europe, and to Cambodia and Colombia and all places in between. In New York City, our activists protested outside of Jeff Bezos' penthouse in Washington, D.C. We rallied at Amazon Fresh in D.C. and was in front of Amazon Fresh. In Bessemer, Alabama, we joined workers from the Amazon facility working to build a union, and we stood with all of them in solidarity. Our Revolution was proud to lead actions in New York and DC and Detroit, Michigan. I saw Susan drop a note in the chat about their action. It was very successful. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Cambridge, Massachusetts, and many other spots. And so now I want to give a big welcome to Our Revolution Massachusetts activist and labor organizer Rand Wilson, who's joining us to recap our Black Friday actions. Rand, thanks for being on the call. Talk to us a little bit about these exciting Black Friday actions and the message that we sent to Amazon on Friday.
I'm just going to, hey, thank you, Paco. Thank you for that introduction. And, it's exciting to be here with so many leaders and activists in Our Revolution. I'm putting in the chat a kind of a wrap-up video that we
can actually play it, I believe. Everybody,
can you play it? Let's play it.
I think so.
Yeah, let's go with that. Good. Let's watch the video.
Oh, we don't have audio though.
Uh-oh.
I don't hear audio.
Well, it's subtitled.
Yeah, that's true. For the folks on the phones, we'll be paused for about 40 more seconds while we play this video, and we'll be right back. But it was a pretty amazing day.
There's the map. Yeah.
Yeah. The map, you can see there's actions in Europe, Africa, Asia, North America, South America. It was truly worldwide. I think I saw pictures from Australia as well. Yep. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, 30 countries, hundreds and hundreds of actions. As a labor organizer, yeah. So I think we got the idea from the video there.
Yeah.
You can turn that off. This was a kind of an important twofer. This was a chance to knit together the broadest possible coalition of people that are concerned about this corporation's role in our communities, its role in our economy, and its how it's a low road and bad actor, not paying its taxes, not paying its workers fairly, and not paying for the environmental destruction that its business model is causing. So the Make Amazon Pay really knit together a very broad coalition. And I think Paco did a great job talking about that. What I wanted to share was just a little bit about the worker organizing component of this that is really at the heart of building power within this corporation, and to begin to think about the fact that what I like to think about is another Amazon is possible. It doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to have a corporation of this size with this kind of monopoly power exercising its low road employment policies. We've got to be reimagining what Amazon might look like in the future that we want to live in. And it's great to have, Our Revolution is such an important part of re-envisioning what a different Amazon might look like, and whether it's breaking it up because of its monopoly power, forcing it to respect its workers with collective bargaining rights and new regulations for the way that the productivity standards that are being imposed on people by which some state legislatures are passing. We've got to take this company and force it to behave differently. And, together we can do that. On the worker organizing piece, I just want to describe what happened in Detroit, Michigan on Friday, where a group of workers have been organizing for months now to have each other's backs, to share a vision of what they would like to see changed where they work, to begin to reach out to their coworkers and have that union conversation. But all of this was taking place kind of on the down low, because we didn't pass the PRO Act, we didn't pass the Employee Free Choice Act. And when workers organize in this country, it's you're putting your job and your livelihood at risk. And so you've got to be savvy about how you do that. And they've been doing this very carefully in Detroit. On Friday, they had developed a petition with a list of changes that they wanted to see in that particular facility. Not just higher wages, but better safety practices, better training. They wanted more control over their own schedules, and more full-time opportunities, a whole bunch of things that they wanted to put in front of management as, this is what we need to see happen here if we're going to have some good jobs and careers at this company, not just throwaway part-time, low-wage work. So on Friday, a group of workers made the decision to bring that petition with those demands to their plant manager, to the top person in that warehouse. And as they marched on the boss, more workers joined them, and people were cheering and chanting as they went down the aisle to go to the boss's office. People spontaneously joined this action, and they had their signs and their stickers and their union newspaper, and they marched in his office and presented that spontaneously. And that's what goes on behind the scenes on a day like Make Amazon Pay. In St. Louis, workers walked out and struck the company, as they did in Germany and in France and in England and in Poland. There were actual strikes going on. But in this country, we're sort of at the beginning of a lot of this work. We're not as advanced as some of the European countries or some of the Asian countries. But we had some really good activity in Raleigh, North Carolina, in Durham, North Carolina, in St. Louis, in Joliet, Illinois. There were two actions, one at 3 o'clock in the morning, where workers stood outside before their shift and held signs demanding respect for the work that they do, demanding higher pay and safety and better safety practices. So, I'm looking forward to continuing to work with Our Revolution, with Progressive International, with Uni Global, and with unions like the Teamsters, the Postal Workers, the Retail Wholesale Department Store Workers Union, Amazonians United, and a lot of other local groups like that are come under the umbrella of a national network called Athena, and worker centers that are working with Amazon workers to build real working class power on the job, in the shop floor, and to win a different employment relationship to that company, to win collective bargaining rights and have a real voice at work. Thank you, Paco.
Yeah, thank you, Rand. And look, I mean, for me in particular, right, the global solidarity that we saw was pretty amazing in support of all these workers. Look, I mean, a company like Amazon can operate across borders, right? And it's about time that we started taking action across borders in support of workers in all kinds of different locations. So thank you, Rand, so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And speaking of making folks pay for the environment and of environmental destruction, let's jump into the Dirty Deal, version 2.0. So in September, Our Revolution and our massive coalition of activists and organizations fought hard to defeat Manchin's Dirty Deal. In round one, we made thousands of calls to members of Congress to leverage the power of the people, and we won. We said we didn't want this. We didn't want it attached to any must-pass piece of legislation, and it was an important victory, but we knew it wouldn't be the end of it, right? Now, it's rearing its ugly head again, and there's maneuvers to attach the Dirty Deal to upcoming must-pass legislation before the end of the year. And so to talk about this a little bit, I want to bring up Senator Jeff Merkley. He is a senator from Oregon. He's been a champion on environmental issues and been fighting against this Dirty Deal for a little bit. So, Senator, welcome to the call. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Paco, thank you so much. And Rand, to hear you talk about an international organizing effort that involved 30 countries, the whole effort was just phenomenal. And I know it's part of an ongoing process It's not one event and you stop. It's building and it's building and it's bringing in new folks and new efforts and new locations, and just well done.
We'll be doing it again next year.
All right. Well, that was just terrific. And I will switch gears here, and thanks, Paco, for inviting me on to talk about the Dirty Deal, because no matter what part of the country you're in, you probably see some aspect of why we're at code red on the planet. You know, in my home state, it's the forest fires. It is the acidification of the ocean. It is the loss of the snow in the Cascades. And that means loss of water for our ranchers and our farmers. It's a multi-year drought in Eastern Oregon, and the list goes on. And I've just been talking with people about the impacts in Georgia, and they're seeing a lot more hotter days, and they're seeing a lot more really destructive downpours, and they're seeing a lot more erosion on their coastline. I mean, every state is different, but when it's a tragedy of the commons, and the commons is the atmosphere across our entire globe, you're going to see a lot of effects everywhere, and none of it's good. So we have to take and fight on piece after piece after piece. And just to kind of sum up what's at stake here, we have to electrify everything with renewable energy. All of our energy we need to generate in a renewable fashion, and then we need to operate using that energy, not using fossil fuels. That's the big picture. We can't keep saying we're working on climate while we're still investing in fossil fuels, while we're still doing new leases on public lands for folks to go out and drill and produce more fossil gas and fossil oil. So we particularly have a short time here, because as the planet gets warmer, it creates feedback loops. And those feedback loops are scary as hell. A picture a couple of years ago in the New York Times of a lake in Alaska that was boiling, not just a little kind of bubbles, but a rolling boil of methane gas as the methane that was frozen underneath the lake was coming up. We have the challenge in the Arctic of the feedback loop, in which the less ice there is, the more heat the ocean absorbs, the more it absorbs, the less ice there is, and everything keeps getting warmer at a much faster rate than the rest of the planet. And then we know that the effects of climate particularly hit marginalized communities. They've always been sacrificed. Marginal communities, frontline communities have been sacrificed. And they are the places where the highways go through. And when I was young, that was the lead from the exhaust was having a huge impact. There are all kinds of other impacts about what industries we locate, including chemical industries and plastics industries and others that are producing pollution on those frontline communities. Well, so we know that they also will bear the brunt of climate chaos rage. So this is a massive threat, not something that we can kind of wait for the next generation to solve. We have to be incredibly engaged by it. I am excited about how many folks coming into our electorate, voting for the first time, really see this as their top issue or one of their top two issues. Younger Americans get it much better than older Americans. So we have to keep building on that energy. And all of you have done just a fabulous job picking specific issues to apply outside pressure to. We need champions inside, and we need champions outside. Now, the Inflation Reduction Act had some positive things in it, and it had some incentives that will produce a lot more solar and a lot more wind. That's good. One of the things I was really happy about is I had worked out with the former head of the FL-CIO a strategy where we needed to have qualities that we associate with unions be requirements for those tax credits. And we were able to get two of them into that bill. One was incentives for apprenticeship programs. The other was incentives for prevailing wages. You get 5 times as much subsidy for the solar or wind or other renewable energies if you have apprenticeship programs and prevailing wages. So there's more we can do in that area, but those two I want to count as wins. And we've got to kick into gear fast. We've got to tell the administration no on the Willow project. They authorized it once. Earthjustice took it to court, knocked it down. There's rumors that they're going to do it again. That's not the subject for tonight. We've got to say no to any new drilling on our public lands. We had it for a while with President Obama. We had a promise from President Biden, but that promise hasn't been kept. But that's not the issue tonight. What is the issue tonight is this side deal. And this side deal is kind of directly making an impact on our same marginalized communities that have been so often left on the short end of the stick. We see that this side deal, this permitting reform, and I hesitate to even use those words because there's versions of permitting reform that would help with the deployment of renewable energy and help our frontline communities, but that's not this deal. This plan would weaken public participation. It would weaken state, tribal, local community input. It imposes arbitrary deadlines on environmental assessments and environmental impact statements. It establishes arbitrary time frames for public comment. It significantly shortens the statute of limitations for challenging permitting agency actions. It would facilitate the fast approval of a huge amount more of fossil fuel infrastructure. And then it has one specific outrageous addition, and that is it rolls over the top like a steamroller over every law to authorize the Mountain Valley pipeline. Now, this is a 300-mile fossil gas pipeline. And I encourage you all to call it fossil gas, call it methane gas. Don't call it natural gas. That's a marketing term from the industry. We're designed to make it sound happy and good. This methane gas, ounce for ounce, is far worse than carbon dioxide. And so if it seeps out of those pipelines, which it always does, it's much more toxic ounce for ounce in terms of damaging our planet. And if it's burned, it creates carbon dioxide, and that's equally bad. If it's shipped overseas to sustain a fossil gas energy system for the next 30 years, that's bad. We can't build new fossil energy infrastructure. And in addition, this particular pipeline, not only does it knock down every check and balance imaginable, it also says, hey, any issues that go to the court, we're moving the location of the court. We're moving it out of Virginia, and we're moving it to a very favorable other setting. And are you kidding? Are we going to start like rigging the court system for the fossil fuel industry? So there's every reason to say hell no on this side deal. And here's where things stand right now. First, I want to thank you to the senators who signed the September letter that I led to really draw attention to the environmental justice issues presented by this side deal. Senator Sanders and Senator Duckworth and Senator Booker, Senator Warren, Senator Markey, Senator Van Hollen, Senator Cardin, and of course I was organizing it. And so think about those senators. It's always helpful to say thank you to folks who have been partners with you and stepped up. And so that's why I wanted to mention those folks. Now, here's where the next battle line is on this. The next battle line is the National Defense Authorization Act. It's going to be passed first in the House, sent over to the Senate. And the goal is to have the House say absolutely not to the side deal. If they stick it inside the NDAA, it may be very hard to impossible to get it out. On the Senate side, you can't put up amendments without consent from both sides. So you can't even force a accountability of a vote on it. So we got to keep it out on the House side. So please use every connection on the House side. All of the members of the House who care about the issue of climate, and every one of them should, but not all of them do. And those that don't, try to tell them that they need to start right now, because Every congressional district in America is affected. And besides, we all have a responsibility well beyond just the congressional district or the state we represent. We have a responsibility to the planet. And we can't go to other nations and say, hey, stop using that coal and instead do solar, or quit using that fossil gas and instead do wind. If we in America, who have the largest carbon footprint per person, are simply greenlighting one fossil fuel project after another. And by the way, if you really want to speed up projects, what the Columbia Journal of Environmental Law found, it said, contrary to widely held assumptions, that less rigorous analysis fails to deliver faster decisions. In other words, skimping on the analysis, trying to shortcut it. They said delays were found primarily driven by staff turnover and inadequate agency budgets, by delays receiving information from the permit applicants, and a failure to comply with other laws that you have to comply with in order to get your permit. And so what this does with these arbitrary deadlines, that's not the right answer, but funding a lot better our ability to have the agency budgets hire the right staff and keep the right staff would be a much better approach. Permitting reform engaging renewable energy in a context of defending, promoting, advocating for our frontline communities, that could be a very valuable addition, but that's not what this is. So I'm just going to wrap up with this and say, direct your attention to the House, and let's keep it out of the NDAA, and then we'll have to go back and keep it out of the omnibus, and then we'll be entering a new 2-year cycle, and we will have to keep carrying this fight. But I think the effort to get it in will get weaker over time. We beat it once. Let's beat it twice on NDAA. Let's beat it a third time on an omnibus or a continuing resolution. And then hopefully the all energy and momentum will go out of it. We can turn ourselves to other important battles.
Well, thank you, Senator. And you spoke about the next 2-year cycle. And I just wanted to, pose this question to you. What do you think is achievable in 2023? We know, we have a Senate that's still controlled by the Democratic Party. We don't have a House anymore that's going to be controlled by the Democratic Party. What are some of the things that we can look forward to in 2023 as far as legislation goes?
That is such a big question, but let's start with what happens in Georgia. Because if the committees in the Senate are 50-50 committees, we won't be able to get bills out of committee just like we weren't the last 2 years. It was and therefore we had to do motions to proceed, and we had to overcome the 60 vote requirement, and we were really totally handicapped. But we'll be less handicapped if we win Georgia, because we'll have a 1 vote advantage on the committees. So that will be helpful on the Senate side. Obviously, to get to a president's desk, you're going to have have a deal with House Republicans, since they're going to be in charge over there. And so that is a big problem. I think a lot of our effort is really going to shift to executive action. We need the president, and my head's still in the climate space, and we need the president to quit being all of the above. And he needs to start saying, this is the moment that we pivot to electrify everything with renewable energy. We have to produce an enormous amount more solar panels. We have to do a lot more utility. We have to get the utilities across the country to quit blocking people from putting solar panels on their homes, and so forth. But so it will be challenging here in the Senate, even 51-49 if we get Georgia. It will be extremely difficult in the House, and we will fight understanding that difficult battlefield, but we will also be taking our energy and our inside and your outside pressure to the administration to become to have Biden and his team become massive climate champions instead of all of the above.
Well, thank you so much, Senator Merkley, for joining us today and from giving us your insight into both what's going on with the NDAA and this dirty side deal, as well as what we might be able to achieve if we get Senator Warnock reelected. And so we're working hard on that, and hopefully we'll be able to deliver. So thank you so much, Senator, for joining us.
You bet. And Paco, thank you all at Our Revolution. Nothing happens without mass movement. The powerful have lawyers. They have lobbyists. They have dark money. They have media campaigns. We have all of you. And the fact that there are thousands of you listening in right now who each have a huge number of connections, and enormous of you here on the Zoom. This is a type of mass across the nation organizing that is essential to save government of, by, and for the people.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Merkley, everybody. Great to have you on, and hope to see you again very, very soon.
Thank you, Paco.
All right. So now it's time for us to act on some of the information we received from the senator that we heard tonight. As you heard from him, there's still a chance that this dirty deal will get attached to the NDAA, but do not fear, we have a plan. And so we are going to run through